Why was Charlie Kirk's life cut short in an act of political violence? Charlie Kirk was one of the most influential young conservative voices in modern American politics. At just 18 years old, he founded an organization that would reach millions of students across the country. But on September 10, 2025, during a routine speaking event at a university, Charlie Kirk's life was tragically ended in an act of political violence. This is the story of Charlie Kirk, who he was, what he built, and the tragedy that ended his life at just 31 years old. This video discusses political violence and death. Our goal is to inform, not to polarize. Viewer discretion is advised. Charles J. Kirk was born on October 14, 1993, in Arlington Heights, Illinois, a suburb of Chicago. Charlie grew up in a middle-class family. His father was an architect project manager, and his mother worked in human resources. By all accounts, it was a typical American upbringing. But Charlie wasn't a typical teenager. While most kids his age were worried about homework and dating, Charlie was obsessed with politics. In 2008, when Charlie was just 14 years old, Barack Obama was elected president. The country was in the midst of the Great Recession, and political debates were everywhere. Charlie began volunteering for local Republican campaigns. He attended Tea Party rallies. He read political philosophy. By the time he graduated high school, Charlie Kirk knew exactly what he wanted to do with his life. But he wouldn't do it the traditional way. In 2012, at just 18 years old, Charlie Kirk made a controversial decision. Instead of going to college, he decided to change college campuses from the outside. With the help of conservative philanthropist Bill Montgomery, Charlie founded Turning Point USA, PUSA for short. The mission was simple but ambitious: promote conservative values, free markets, limited government, and fiscal responsibility on college campuses across America. PUSA started small. A few chapters at a few schools. But Charlie Kirk had something special. He understood social media. While traditional conservative organizations were still focused on direct mail and TV ads, Charlie was building a digital empire. Viral videos, memes, short, punchy messages that resonated with young people. By 2016, PUSA had chapters at over 1,000 schools. By 2020, that number had grown to over 2,500 chapters with more than 250,000 student members. Charlie became a fixture on college campuses. He held culture war events, brought conservative speakers, and debated students in open forums. His events were always controversial. Supporters praised him for defending conservative values. Critics accused him of spreading misinformation and divisive rhetoric. But one thing was undeniable: Charlie Kirk had become one of the most influential young conservatives in America. Charlie Kirk didn't just stick to campus activism. He built a multimedia empire. His podcast, The Charlie Kirk Show, became one of the most listened-to conservative podcasts in America, with millions of downloads per month. On social media, Charlie's reach was enormous. Over 3 million followers on Twitter. Millions more on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. He became a regular at major conservative events, PAC, the Republican National Convention, and rallies for Republican candidates. During the Trump presidency, Charlie had access to the White House. He advised campaigns, appeared on major news networks, and influenced policy discussions. But with influence came criticism. Charlie was accused of promoting conspiracy theories, spreading false information about elections, and contributing to political polarization. Fact-checkers frequently challenged his statements. Media critics called him dangerous. But his supporters saw him as a truth-teller fighting against mainstream media bias. Whether you agreed with him or not, Charlie Kirk had become impossible to ignore in American political discourse. On September 10, 2025, Charlie Kirk was scheduled to speak at Utah Valley University in Orem, Utah. It was a routine event, the kind Charlie had done hundreds of times before. The topic was the future of American conservatism. Security was present, as it always was at Charlie's events. Protests were expected. Both supporters and critics gathered outside the venue. At approximately 7:15 p.m. Mountain Time, Charlie took the stage. The auditorium was packed with students, faculty, and community members. At 7:47 p.m., gunshots rang out. According to witnesses and police reports, a man in the audience stood up and fired multiple shots at the stage. Charlie Kirk was struck multiple times. Security personnel and audience members immediately tackled the shooter. Police and paramedics arrived within minutes. Charlie was rushed to Utah Valley Hospital. Doctors worked for over an hour to save his life. But at 9:23 p.m., Charlie Kirk was pronounced dead. He was 31 years old. The shooter was immediately identified as Tyler James Robinson, a 28-year-old from Salt Lake City. Robinson had no prior criminal record. According to investigators, he had attended several of Charlie's previous events and had posted critical comments about Puza on social media. The FBI launched a full investigation to determine if Robinson had any accomplices or if this was part of a larger conspiracy. So far, evidence suggests he acted alone. Robinson was charged with first-degree murder, a capital offense in Utah. He has pleaded not guilty by reason of mental defect, claiming he was experiencing a psychotic episode. Legal experts say the trial, which is ongoing, could last months. Prosecutors are seeking the death penalty. The defense is arguing for life in prison without parole, citing mental illness. Charlie's family, friends, and colleagues have testified about the impact of his death. His wife, whom he married in 2020, described him as a devoted husband who was passionate about his beliefs. Politicians from both parties condemned the assassination. Current president, called it an attack on free speech and democracy. Congressional leaders from both sides issued statements calling for an end to political violence. Turning Point USA continues to operate under new leadership. The organization has over 3,000 chapters and remains one of the largest conservative student groups in America. Charlie Kirk's death sparked intense debate about political rhetoric in America. Some argued that heated language and polarization create an environment where violence becomes more likely. Others argued that holding political speech responsible for the actions of unstable individuals threatens First Amendment protections. Memorial services for Charlie were held in Illinois and Arizona. Thousands attended. Conservative leaders, politicians, and ordinary citizens came to pay their respects. On social media, millions shared memories, condolences, and debates about his legacy. Some celebrated his activism. Others continued to criticize his methods. But almost everyone agreed that political assassination has no place in American democracy. Charlie Kirk spent his adult life exercising his First Amendment right to free speech. He built a movement, influenced elections, and shaped political discourse. His supporters remember him as a fearless defender of conservative values who gave voice to millions of students. His critics remember him as a divisive figure who spread misinformation. The truth, as always, is complex. Charlie Kirk was a product of his time, a social media-savvy activist who understood how to reach young people in the digital age. Charlie Kirk's assassination was a tragedy, not just for his family and supporters, but for American democracy. Political violence in America has been increasing. From congressional shootings to protests turning violent, the temperature has been rising for years. But America was founded on the principle that we can disagree without violence, that we can debate without destroying, that we can hold different views while respecting each other's humanity. Charlie Kirk believed in free speech, even for those who disagreed with him. Whatever your politics, that's a principle worth defending. May we honor his memory, and all victims of political violence, by lowering the temperature and remembering what makes America great, the peaceful exchange of ideas. This video was created to inform, not to inflame. We've tried to present Charlie Kirk's life and death objectively, acknowledging both his supporters and critics. If you found this informative, please share it. We need more balanced, thoughtful discussions about controversial figures and events. Subscribe to Then and Now Stories for more in-depth looks at the people shaping and shaped by American history. Comments are monitored. Hate speech, threats, or harassment will result in immediate deletion and blocking. Let's keep this space respectful.